Next up is Ashley Smith. Ashley, apparently, according to this photograph, drinks a lot of wine. Another reference to dinner last night. Ashley is the president of Jet Logistics, based out of North Carolina. You have how many airplanes? 14? 14 airplanes in the aeromedical business. In the aeromedical business, and another stalwart of our industry. Again, tag Lucille, tag Ashley when we break here in just a little bit. And if you have any questions, these are two of the best in the industry to point your questions towards. So, Ashley.
I don't think this thing's working.
All right.
I don't know about you guys. I couldn't hear Lucille real well. That's the reason I was going to test. There we go. Okay. Good stuff, Lucille. Why do I feel like so much of it was directed at me? I still say FARS. My passenger briefing is real simple. 3 things. Sit down, shut up, keep your feet off the seats. And the one briefing for the co-pilot is always, don't ever let me wake up and catch you sleeping. So when Al asked me about speaking here today, I absolutely said, sure, love to do that. What do you want me to speak about? He said, I don't care. Let me know in a couple days. A couple days later, he called me and said, hey, I need to know what you're going to speak about. And I went, oh, man, I hadn't thought about it. How about making an impact on those people around you? He goes, sounds good. I chose this topic for 2 reasons. Number one, it's my opinion, and if you don't like it, it's a free country, you're allowed to be wrong. And secondly, it's a subject that I'm actually really passionate about. As I get older, whether I look old or not, keep that opinion to yourself. But as I get older, I don't see as many young people coming in the industry as I feel like we need to have. So I try to go out of my way to speak to people, especially younger people, to get them excited about our industry. How many people in aviation are willing to admit in public that they love their job? All right? I don't know why, but so many people won't say that. I flew for an airline for 3 years. Worst culture I've ever been involved in. Everybody complained all the time. That's all they ever did. I absolutely hated the culture. But I'm one of those people that there's 2 things in life I love to do. I love to help people, and I love to fly airplanes. And with Jet Logistics, I get to do that every single day. We're primarily in the aeromedical business. Now, we do some other things too, but 90+% of our sales is aeromedical. And I don't know if any of you have ever done that, but I've never shown up to pick up a patient and had them be mad at me for being there. They're always very happy to see us, even if we're late. They don't complain about the food. They don't complain about the ride. They're just really, really happy to be there. So I love what I do, and I like to share it with people. Sort of a personal thing, I love quotes. All right? I love quotes and I love movies, especially quotes from movies. The reason I like them is that with just a sentence or 2, a lot of times, it makes us think much deeper. It makes us think about things perhaps we haven't thought about before. I've got a quote for every slide throughout this entire presentation today. And it's really just sort of elaborating and building on these things. So the purpose of the talk today, I thought this quote from Jackie Robinson was very good. A life is not important except in the impact it has on other people. So I want you to ask yourself today, the goal for me today is at the end, I want you to stop and think, are you having that impact on the people around you? Are you being the best leader? Are you being the best father, the best husband, the best wife, the best brother, sister, whatever? Whatever it is, are we living up to our potential? So the definition of impact, to have a strong effect on someone or something. How about you? Think about it. Are you living up to your capacity, your potential? How do we do this? Some of you probably know Lou Holtz, maybe a few of you don't. Pretty famous college coach, coached lots of different places, probably the most notable, Notre Dame. But he's quoted saying, if you're bored with life, if you don't get up every morning with a burning desire to do things, you don't have enough goals. Actually, when Al asked me about this, and I kind of threw this thing together, I sat down. Actually, I called him up a couple weeks ago. I said, "Hey, Al, when do you need those slides?" And he goes, "Any day this week's fine." Oh, okay. Now, I can't work organized. It's against company policy for us to do that. So I said, "Okay." I threw the slides together, sent them over to him. I thought I'll go back later and I'll make some notes. Last night right after dinner, I said, man, I probably should make some notes because I hadn't done that yet. So anyway, if it looks like I'm kind of jumping around, it's probably because I am. So how do we do this? Well, we've got to set high goals and standards for ourselves. How many of you guys get the question? I get this question all the time from people that aren't in aviation. Have you ever been scared in an airplane? You guys get that question? I get it a lot, all right? I usually give them the same answer. In reality, I can't think of a time I've been scared. There have been times that I've been highly concerned that the outcome was going to be what we wanted it to be. But I can't say I was truly scared. Why is that? Because, those of you that fly, when you get that emergency situation, you're so focused on handling the emergency that the scared part comes after it's over. After you've had time to think about what happened, and that's when it sort of sets in. But it usually surprises people when I say, no, I've never really been scared in an airplane. They should ask the question, have you ever been scared? Because technically when I get scared, I'm not in the airplane. That's why I feel like it's a proper answer. Some people do say, hey, have you ever been scared? And to be honest with you, that's my driving emotion every single day. And by that, what I mean is, every day I wake up worried that I will have left something undone, that I didn't leave it all on the field, to use an athletic term. You guys remember Titanic when, what's his name, lead character, Leonardo, whatever his name, DiCaprio, all right? He says, live every day to its fullest, make every day count, all right? That's what drives me. That's what, I don't know about you guys, my birth certificate has no expiration date, so I'm not really sure exactly how long I'm going to be here. And I don't know that I'll live past tomorrow. I don't know that, my family doesn't have a history of living to be a real ripe age. I'm 47 years old now. If I'm halfway there, that means I'm going to live to 94. Nobody's ever lived to 94 in my family. So I'm pretty sure that the number of days ahead of me are less than the days that are behind me. So I'm running out of time to make a difference in this world. I want to leave it better than it was when I came here. And I feel like I'm doing that through aviation because that's the one talent that I have. I'm not good at anything else. Airplanes is all I really know. I'm not like Lucille, who's got all kinds of different talents and stuff. Okay, so set expectations for yourself. How are we going to do this? We're going to do this through goals. I bring up credentials because, in the air medical business, I have to deal with medical people a lot. And I'm not from a medical background. In fact, there's not a lot of medical people in my family at all. I don't know about you. My dad had a saying when I was young. He said, son, it's not about who you know. It's not about what you know. It's about how many letters are behind your name. The old saying, what do they call the guy who graduates last in his class at medical school? Doctor, all right? So it's letters behind you, credentials. In the medical field, for some reason, all these people in the medical field must have known my dad because they put so many letters behind their name all the time. I sat through a presentation last week. This lady was, by trade, she's a nurse, but she's got a PhD in nursing. She's got an MBA. All these letters. The letters behind her name went all the way across the PowerPoint and halfway down the second line. As I'm reading this thing, I'm like, man, I feel like I should have to cover one eye and read as I'm reading this thing. I just started nicknaming her eye chart. But why is that important? Why is that important that we go out and we get these credentials? Because it's what proves to the rest of the world that we should know something about the topic, right? We were talking last night at dinner. I did the CAM thing through MBAA. And Lucille goes, why did you do that? Well, because of my dad, Lucille. My dad said I should have letters behind my name. So I go out and I get all these different credentials and stuff. What does it tell the rest of the world? Hopefully it tells the rest of the world that I know something about aviation management. All right? I say that mainly for the younger folks in the industry. All right? I started out in the business as a mechanic. And I knew a guy that was one of the best sheet metal mechanics, probably still today. The guy was phenomenal. He could do anything with a piece of metal and make it look unbelievably good. Guy had no airframe license. So he limited where he could work. He limited what he could do. Most importantly, he limited his income potential. All because he just simply wouldn't go take the test. There's no question he would have passed it. He just felt intimidated and wouldn't do it. All right? Without that credential, without that certification, didn't mean anything. What else can we do? Be active within your industry. I mentioned MBAA only because Lucille, Al, and I are all very active in MBAA. Real good story for that one, a good example of that to me. There's a group called the OpSpec Working Group. All right? Most of you probably don't even have a clue what that is. There's a group, they're mostly industry people, and to be honest with you, it's mostly the legacy airlines. There's usually one or two, maybe three 135 operators that are there. But there's a lot of the folks from the FAA that are heads of certain departments, the head of AFS 470, the AFS 280, 200, 250. These guys typically show up. Why is that important? Because you're getting stuff straight from the source. I can't tell you how powerful it was. I started attending these meetings at the recommendation of somebody within MBAA. They said, hey, explain what it was. I said, yeah, okay, I'll go see what's going on. I ended up going to every single meeting for about 4 years. Can you imagine how powerful it was when I would send a letter to my POI to say, hey, you don't know about this yet, but there's this change coming, and we're already in compliance, and here's how we're in compliance. I hardly ever heard from my POI for like 4 years because it was proof that we're staying ahead of what's going on, right? All that came about because I was simply being active within the industry. You're staying ahead of change. You're seeing what the change is. You're adapting and overcoming. This is also designed for the younger folks. All right? There's this new millennial crowd. You guys know what I'm talking about? All right, I've hired a couple younger pilots recently. And this sort of came, as I'm sitting there thinking about these guys, this quote came to mind. Don't go around saying the world owes you anything. The world owes you nothing. It was here first. All right, I've been doing this for over 30 years. When I started out as a lineman, and then a mechanic, and then a pilot, when I had 500 hours, as far as I was concerned, if I could start it, I could fly it. Why do I need 1,500 hours? I can fly anything, right? And when I got 1,500 hours, why do I need 3,000? I know it all, right? Guys don't understand. There's something about paying your dues, all right? And life doesn't give it to you. You got to go out and you got to earn it. There's no substitute for experience. Somebody told me early on in my career, they said every pilot starts his career with an empty bag of luck and an empty bag of wisdom and a full bag of luck. The challenge is to fill the bag of wisdom before you run out of the luck. There's a lot of truth to that. There's a lot of things I've done in an airplane over my career that I really shouldn't be here talking today. I shouldn't be on this earth at all because it was stupid. But I had to get to this point in my career to realize that. You got to go out and you got to earn it and you got to pay your dues. Oh, another thing that's important too. I hate it when young pilots are proud of the fact that they were able to get a job without being a flight instructor. What is up with that? All right, when I fly with another pilot, I can tell immediately if they've ever been a CFI. Why? How do you learn your skill? You don't learn anything until you've had to teach it to somebody else. And for some reason, it's like this badge of honor if I found some way to get around having to be a flight instructor. Who did you penalize? You penalized yourself. You learn so much when you have to teach it to somebody else. I wish I could really get that out. I should go like to Embry-Riddle or something. Do that. Lead by example. I used to work for, Lucille, you said something earlier about nobody gets up and goes, I want to be a horrible charter operator today. I disagree. I work for that guy. You talk about leading by example. This guy got so excited, and I'm not going to name his names because a lot of you people know who I'm talking about. This guy would get so excited. He was also a pilot. He owned the company, but he was also a pilot. He would get so excited to see how low on fuel he could be when he got home. That was what gave him kicks. He would come back bragging about how far out from the airport he was when the low fuel lights came on. He just like some kind of adrenaline rush or something. Needless to say, I didn't work there all that long because that's not leading by example. All right, there are certainly things I would do in an airplane right now that I probably wouldn't ask my pilots to do because they either don't have the same skill set, they haven't done it as long. Not that I would do something that's unsafe or illegal, but say, for example, certain weather, maybe. All right, things that are a matter of opinion. I've never in 30 years told a pilot he had to do something. Never have, never will. Why? Because if their gut's telling them that this isn't a good, safe operation, there's probably a reason why. All right, and we should honor that. I tell my pilots that during NDOC. If you ever call me, obviously we have a risk assessment tool. In fact, you'll see a copy of it here in a little bit. They can do the risk assessment tool. If the number comes up to be a certain amount, they can't go. But just because the number says it's acceptable doesn't mean the trip can still go. You still have the right to say, I just don't feel good about it. It happens once in a while. Not often, once in a while. Now, if you call me every week and you tell me you don't feel comfortable, okay, well, that's a different trend we need to discuss. Maybe you're in the wrong line of work. But leading by example is very, very important. I mentioned this book, not that I'm kind of endorsing it or anything, but it's a fabulous book. How many people are in the charter business here? Have you guys read this book? Have you heard of it? If you haven't, I highly encourage it. Why is that? It is a great book to help you learn how to price what you sell. All right, but it's about cultivating a customer base. The purpose of the book is you should do things that create a customer base that are raving fans of your industry, of your business. They should want to use your service or buy your product, whatever your business you're in. They should want to do that because of everything except the price you sell it for. Why is that important? Because if somebody uses you because of what you charge, they're loyal to the price. They're not loyal to your business. All right? Tim, you're in sales. I'm going to pick on you because you're back there on your phone. So if you get a customer that calls and they say, hey, I can get brand X over here to do this trip for $1,000 less, what's your first inclination? You want to lower the price, right? Okay, you don't, but everybody else in the world does, okay? So I know so many charter operators, that's what they do. They lower the price. Oh, yeah, I'll knock $1,000 off. I'll match the price. Let me have the trip. What are you doing? Okay, yeah, you got some business for yourself. But the next time that person calls, they're going to do it again. You've cultivated a customer base that's price-driven. So now all the customers that use you will eventually get to where they call you every single time. Hey, man, I need you to meet this price, or I need you to knock this much off, or whatever. That's the customer base that you have cultivated. It's your own fault. All right? Pavlov's dog, right? The idea here is your customers should be raving fans of all the things you do. I remember I started out in the charter business. I got out of it because I think it sucks. I hate it. So I got in the aeromedical business. Nobody ever calls me and says, hey, can you knock $1,000 off? Instead, and the reason I got out of the charter business is people were doing this to me all the time, all right? And to me, it was hard to compete. But if you're in the charter business, or if you're in any business, your customers should be calling you because you offer the best service in the industry, because you are safe, because you have customer service. All the things that you can offer other than the price. I'm not saying go out and gouge people. I used to tell my sales team when I was in the charter business, if you find out one of our competitors is more expensive than we are, please let me know because I want to fix that. I want to make sure that we're not the cheapest because that's not the customer base that we want to try to cultivate. Even in our everyday lives, we should hold ourselves to a similar standard. We should want our employer to be a raving fan of what we do. We should want our family to be a raving fan of what we do and how we do it. I thought this was kind of cool. It really doesn't apply to anything. Well, if you didn't get a chance to read the whole thing. Somebody after me, I think, is going to talk about communications, and I'm sure is going to go into a lot more detail than that. But this was another step that I think is very, very important because as we're going through life and we're trying to have an impact on other people, how do we do that? One, leading by example, but also communication. We have to tell people things. And I heard this on one of the political shows a few weeks ago that really, really made sense to me. You're not responsible for what you say. You're responsible for what people hear. Think about it. It's very, very important. And this clip here I thought was extremely appropriate for today. Let's see. Let's hope this plays.
When I told the folks back home that I was coming to Octomocty, they said, "Where the fuck's that?"
It's easy to see who got that, because you can tell by who's laughing and who's not. So obviously he didn't hear what. I also thought it was appropriate because who knows where? And don't raise your hand out. Who knows where Octomocty is? It's in Scotland. So I thought it was appropriate since Al's from Scotland. I love that clip. Now, as we go about doing these things, as we're trying to make our friends, family, coworkers, employer, raving fans of what we do day in and day out, are we going to make mistakes? Yes, of course we're going to make mistakes. A life spent making mistakes is not only more honorable, but more useful than a life spent doing nothing. The old saying, better to have tried and failed than to never have tried at all type of thing. Okay, so there's a copy of our risk assessment tool. Of course you're going to make mistakes. That's a good thing. All right? We want to make mistakes. Why do we want to make mistakes? Because we're going to learn from them. Number one, admit it. Admit you made the mistake. Don't be too proud. All right? Don't be Donald Trump. If you make a mistake, you made a mistake. Admit to it. But learn from it. The whole new FAA compliance now is based on this. And I think it's a fantastic step in the right direction. It's one of the core values of a good safety management system. You want to use that data that your safety management system is pulling together to find out, how do I make a better organization? How do we change, as Lucille talked about, both policies and procedures, how do we change those policies or procedures, or both, so that we don't make those same mistakes again? A mentor of mine a long time ago said, people don't run companies, procedures run companies. Why is it important to have procedures? Because you may not always be there. Your coworker may not always be there. And if it's something that relies on a particular individual, then as soon as that particular individual is gone, the process may fall apart. It has to be a good, solid procedure so that when the name on the door changes, the company or the organization doesn't suffer as a result. Hopefully that makes sense. How am I doing on time now? Thanks. Appreciate that. I'm really not paying attention. I'm just talking. I'm having fun. This is from Jack Welch, and I think it's very appropriate. If you're in management, you're in leadership, and this is something that took me a long time to learn as an employer. You pick the right people and give them the opportunity to spread their wings and put compensation as a carry behind it, you almost don't have to manage them. Meaning, if you find the right people and you pay them appropriately, not necessarily excessively, but you get what you pay for. And I don't have a problem saying that I've been cheap. I've not always hired the right people. I didn't always pay them right. I got what I paid for. All right? Learn the hard way. Most importantly, give them the tools they need to do their job. And that doesn't mean that they have the right to fire somebody, but they don't get to hire anybody in their place. All right? I see that all the time in small businesses. They either have autonomy to do their job or they don't. All right? Either decide you're going to micromanage them, which means you did it yourself. All right? Or get out of the way and let them do their job. I've also been guilty of that in years past. I love this movie clip because I use this with my maintenance department all the time. And I thought I would.
How would you handle this?
We could try ignoring it, sir.
I see. Pretend nothing has happened and hope everything turns out all right in the morning.
Just a thought, sir.
I've considered that. There's got to be a better angle.
We have to deal with that a lot. I call it the ostrich theory. Put your head in the sand, hope it all goes away, right? All right. That never works. Well, I don't know, maybe it works once in a while, but now we're back to hoping luck takes care of our problems, right? Best thing to do, tackle it head on. Just like tackling the dentist. All right? It's not going to get better. Go to the dentist, get your problem taken care of. Short-term pain, long-term gain, right? Just go ahead and get it over with. Being I'm from the South, I had to throw something in here from Robert E. Lee. Get correct views of life, and learn to see the world in its true light. It will enable you to live pleasantly, to do good, and when summoned away, to leave without regret. Back full circle to what I told you was my biggest fear. I don't want to be laying there on my deathbed going, man, I wish I'd done this. I wish I'd done that. All right? Leave it all on the field. Make every day count. You don't know that you're going to be here tomorrow. You don't know that the guy sitting next to you is going to be here tomorrow. Make every single day count. All right? Leave something behind. I call it passing it down. Some people call it pay it forward. Bottom line is leave this world in a better circumstance than it was when you came into it. When I was about 8 years old, I grew up on a small family farm. Very small. My dad worked really hard. I decided that, we were talking about this at dinner last night, I said, why did I not take over my dad's farm? I didn't want to work 80 hours a week. I didn't want to make very little money, and I didn't want to be in a business that was impacted by the weather. I think I failed in all three of those. But the toys are a lot more fun. Airplanes are a lot more fun than tractors. But, the thing about the tractor is I don't have an FAA guy telling me I can or can't modify the tractor. So, back to the story about when I was about 8 years old, we needed to use a special piece of equipment to prepare the ground for this thing we were getting ready to do. And we didn't have this piece of equipment. We typically would rent it from like an agri supply store. Well, we had a neighbor that had one, that he owned it. And my dad said, hey, we're going to go borrow Mr. Durwood's tractor and so we can do this. I need you to drive it from his farm down the road to our farm. Can you imagine how excited an 8-year-old boy was to get to drive the tractor down the road by himself for the first time? It wasn't real far. It was probably a mile. But it was my first chance to get the tractor as fast as it would go. And I was so excited. I got on that tractor. I fired it up. I took off down the road, got to the field. When I left, my dad was right behind me with the little flashers going on his truck. When I got there was no dad. And I waited, and I waited, and I waited, and I waited. Finally, he pulls up. He gets out of the truck, and I can tell. I must have done something wrong. He goes, son, did you stop to think that the rig on the back of the tractor was wider than the tractor? No, I didn't really think about it, Dad. He said, yeah, I figured. You took out every mailbox between where we left and here. He said, I've been out standing mailboxes back up for the last hour. After that was over, when we were done, he made me take the tractor back to our farm, wash the complete tractor, and wax it. And at the time, I thought I was being penalized for knocking over mailboxes. But later, when I asked him about it, he said, no, I wasn't penalizing you for that. It was an honest mistake. You'd never driven the tractor down the road, and you're only 8 years old. How much of an expectation can I have for you? I had you wash and wax the tractor because the next year when we want to borrow it from Mr. Durwood again, he'll be likely to let us borrow it. All right? I learned a valuable lesson because now if I borrow something from a friend or a neighbor or whatever, I try to bring it back in better condition than when they loaned it to me. That way they're encouraged to let me do it again. Same thing on this world, okay? We want to leave it in a better place than when we got here. We want to do things for the younger generation coming behind us. We want to make their life better than the life that we had, right? The greatest effects we have on the world are the ones we never see. A lot of the things that you do while you're here, you may never see. It may be 20 years after you're gone. Think about it. It's powerful to me. It drives me every single day. Last quote. Anybody have any questions? I had a feeling there wouldn't be any for this one. Thanks for your time. I appreciate you listening. I hope it had some impact on you.